Turquoise waters, soft white sands, and 74 tropical islands in the heart of the Great Barrier Reef. Today we're heading to the Whitsundays with our lady who travels, Melissa, to share how to share your dream trip to this slice of paradise.
Welcome to the Global Travel Planning Podcast. Your host is founder of the Global Travel Planning website, Tracy Collins. Each week, Tracy is joined by expert guests as she takes you on a journey to destinations around the world, sharing travel inspiration, itinerary ideas, and practical tips to help you plan your next adventure. Join us as we explore everywhere from bustling cities to remote landscapes, uncover cultural treasures, and discover the best ways to make your travel dreams a reality.
Hi and welcome to this week's episode of the Global Travel Planner Podcast. This week we are heading to the Whitsundays. Now this chain of 74 tropical islands off the coast of Queensland is right in the heart of the Great Barrier Reef. It's famous for crystal clear waters, pristine beaches and world-class sailing. And they're a destination that many travellers dream about. Now in this episode I am joined by Melissa to talk about everything you need to know for visiting the Whitsundays, from when to go and where to stay, to must-do activities, hidden gems and personal stories from our own time in this stunning region. Whether you're planning a quick visit or a longer island hopping escape, this episode will help you make the most of your time in the Whitsundays. Hi Melissa, it's so good to always chat to you anyway as one of fellow ladies who travel. So welcome to this episode to share your knowledge about the Whitsundays.
Yeah, hi Tracy, hi everyone.
Now, I know that you have recently been to the Whitsundays, and it's somewhere that before I actually came to Australia, it was my idea of paradise. It was the place that I dreamt of visiting. So I was very excited when we went there for the first time, and I've been a few times since. But for those who've never been, where exactly are the Whitsundays and what makes them so special?
The Whitsundays are, if you think about the big map of Queensland, they're probably about halfway along the coastline. From Brisbane, it's about a 1 hour and 45-minute flight. And the area is just beautiful. It is on the southern edge of the Great Barrier Reef, and it's a region with about 74 islands scattered through the Coral Sea. What makes it so special? I mean, on the Great Barrier Reef, of course, but the sand on some of those beaches, like famous Whitehaven Beach, are like, white, soft white sand. You've got the incredible turquoise water, beautiful reefs. It's also really relatively easy to access, and lots of different experiences, fancy resorts, casual resorts. You can go sailing on boats, you can do day trips, you've got national parks. It really is, if you think about a postcard of paradise, I think that's what the Whitsundays is. And I just want to say one thing, whatever you see online, that is what it looks like. It's not one of those, you see those funny memes that say Instagram reality or whatever it is. It is what you see is what you get. Beautiful.
Oh, 100% agree. We've stayed on Daydream Island and taken day trips to Whitehaven Beach, and Whitehaven Beach is, you can't just, in fact, to describe the sand on Whitehaven Beach, the best way to describe it is flour. It is like flour. It's white. It's incredible. It's beautiful. I'll put some photos. We've both got sets of photos we'll put in the show notes so you can actually have a look at just how stunning it is. It is beautiful. And the water truly is that turquoise colour.
I mean, say, Tracy, any of the photos, like they will be our photos. So, they're not touched up or, some professionals, they're going to be our photos. So It is what it looks like.
Absolutely. These are genuine pictures from when we visited the Whitsundays. Now, for anybody who is thinking, this is definitely somewhere I want to visit and I'd highly recommend it, when is the best time of year to visit and how does the experience change with the seasons?
Well, the best time to visit is always any time of year. But if we want to go the best time of year, because there are a few things to consider when you're talking about the Whitsundays. So a couple of things to consider. And first of all, is something that people are going to get really stressed about, I think, is stinger season. So the area is known for small jellyfish that, are quite dangerous. But we wear stinger suits in the Whitsundays. Everybody does. It's not a big deal. I know people will be like, I don't want to wear a stinger suit, but it's not a really big deal. But if you don't want to go during that period, because a stinger suit is sort of like the summer season, so sort of November to March, I think it is. It might even be a bit longer than that. And also that summer season is hot, very, very hot and humid. So if you're not used to the really hot, humid weather, it's probably a time to avoid. The other thing that we do have during that, it is our wet season. Now, wet season doesn't mean it's going to pour down raining every single day, but what it does mean is there is a chance of a cyclone. And unfortunately, some of those islands, have been flattened, every couple of decades or something. So it is something to be aware of. I personally have been to the Whitsundays in the summer season where there's stingers, and it's our wet season, and I had a wonderful, wonderful time. So I don't say people should avoid it during that time. Just be aware of those things. But as you just said, I just went in July, so that is our winter time. Now, I'm a Queensland girl, so I found July cold, but I did wear a wetsuit in the water, which helped keep me warm. And look, there's tourists everywhere that are jumping in that water and saying how lovely it is. So if you're probably from a colder climate, you probably wouldn't find the winter too cold at all. The other thing I'd probably mention is if you are going to go, have a look when it's the Queensland school holidays, because it's a very, very popular time for families to go to the local families to go to the Whitsundays, and it does push the price up enormously. So, the best time, I don't know, but I would just consider all of those things that I mentioned and work out what's a good time for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think the last time actually Doug and I went was in June. I think it was June or July. And we saw whales because we stayed on Daydream Island, and we saw whales passing by the island, which is, you're lying by the pool and you're seeing whales. It was fantastic.
That's
just
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have seen, because I've been paying a bit of interest because I just went there, in different Facebook groups, people posting pictures of whales going past from their balconies and stuff. I didn't see any whales when I was there, but it certainly is possible if you go during the winter months.
Absolutely, it was beautiful. We had a lovely time. Really enjoyed it. So, what about the main ways to get to the Whitsundays? Do you have a preferred starting point?
It's pretty easy to get to the Whitsundays. There are two sort of gateways to the Whitsundays, either the mainland, Airlie Beach. Well, actually, the airport is in an area called Proserpine, which is about 30-40 minute drive from Airlie Beach. So Airlie Beach is the beach, sort of the gateway on the mainland to the Whitsundays. Or you can go straight to the islands and you can fly into Hamilton Island. Most of our Australian airlines fly direct to Hamilton Island and the Whitsundays from most capital cities, at least on the East Coast. So if you've only got a couple of days and, just fly straight on to Hamilton Island. And so even if you're not staying on Hamilton Island, you fly into Hamilton Island and you can move on to one of the other islands, or I guess you could even move on to Airlie Beach. There are ferries that go between Airlie Beach and Hamilton Island and Daydream Island very regularly, like a couple of times, or more than a couple of times a day, off the top of my head, every hour or so, I think. So really easy to get between Airlie Beach and the islands. Really easy to get from any capital city. So if you're coming to do a trip in Australia, super easy to get to. A lot of the clients that I talk to, they're going to Cairns. They want to go to the Whitsundays. Not so easy. There is a regional airline that flies there a couple of times a week, but it can be expensive. So the best way to get to the Whitsundays is from a capital city like Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, even Adelaide, I think, flies direct. So, but otherwise pretty easy to get there.
Oh, cool. Well, I used to live not too far from Whitsunday, so it was pretty easy drive. So we used to actually go and base ourselves in Airlie Beach. I've based myself on Airlie Beach a couple of times, but we've also stayed on, as I mentioned, Daydream Island. And I guess, I know this is a question that's like how long is a piece of string, but would you recommend staying in Airlie Beach and taking the day trips, or staying on an island? Now, I've done both, and so I kind of have I know what I preferred, but I guess it depends really on kind of what your itinerary is like. But what are your thoughts on that, Melissa?
Well, yeah, it depends on a couple of things. So there are a few different ways, like you mentioned, how you experience the Whitsundays. So, I think ideally is to stay on one of the islands. Not all the islands are inhabited. Like there's only a couple of resort islands. I think maybe 4 at the moment I can think of, like Long Island, Hayman Island, Hamilton Island, and Daydream Island. I think that's like there are other islands with resorts, but like I said, unfortunately, some of them get wiped out from cyclones. Like Daydream Island is only fairly new in that. It's been around for a very, very long time, but yeah, it got wiped out and had to be renovated. So it's fairly new, up and running. So anyway, ideally, I think you'd want to stay on some of the islands because, yeah, you're in the middle of the Whitsundays, in the middle of the Great Barrier Reef. It's just beautiful, but it does get a bit pricey. So some people, if you're on the budget end of the scale, then you're probably going to want to stay at Airlie Beach and then do day trips out to Hamilton Island or Whitehaven Beach, etc. You can still have a wonderful, wonderful time. So don't let that put you off if you don't have the budget to stay on the islands. Definitely don't let that put you off. But there are a couple of other ways you can also enjoy the Whitsundays. I've just been lucky enough to be sailing around on a catamaran for a couple of days in the Whitsundays, and that was absolutely fabulous. I loved it so much. And I think it cost us about, there was the 2 of us, and I think it was about 2,800 Australian dollars for 3 nights, which, so, let's say $1,000 a night, which does sound quite pricey, but when you think it includes, your accommodation, all your activities, all your food, the only thing you have to bring along is your drinks. So it's not too bad. And you're on a catamaran in the middle of the Whitsundays. And there was only one other couple on board. The boat could have 4 couples, but we were lucky enough there was only 2 of us. And you've got your own skipper and your own host that's cooking all your meals and bringing your cups of tea. I think it was incredible, and I highly recommend it. But there is another option of staying on the Whitsundays called Reef Sleep. So it's a big sort of pontoon that you go to, and you can sleep. You can either sleep on top of the pontoon, basically in swags under the stars, or you can sleep down below the pontoon, sort of underwater level, and, you've got these huge big glass windows so you can watch the marine life swim past your room. I haven't done that. It's up there on my bucket list. I've got some clients doing it next month, actually, so I can't wait to hear what their experience is like. But
I was going to say, Melissa, honestly, that's also it's always been high on my bucket list. So I suggest we reach out to the people who organise Reef Sleep, and that they invite the ladies who travel and the Queensland Travel Guide to come and check it out, and we can share all about it.
I think they should. Because where are you going to sleep? Are you going to sleep on the pontoon under the stars, or underneath to watch the marine life?
I think on the pontoon.
I kind of want. Yeah. I think that sounds cool as well. They're all the different options. So I would just say, whatever your budget, there's an option for you. I actually just did all 3. So on the trip, I just spent 2 weeks in the Whitsundays, stayed at Airlie Beach, stayed on Hamilton Island, and I stayed on the catamaran. So we did all of them, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I've been there a few times, and first time we did it a bit budget, and we did a day trip out. I think a couple of times I've done that, because I actually used to go and do work as well. We used to have to fly up there for work, which was rather nice. What a place to go and do some work. And then Doug and I, last time we went, we stayed on Daydream Island, which was lovely. The problem I have with Doug is that he gets seasick, so therefore minimising the amount of time on a boat is always a good idea for him, I think. But
and Daydream's so close. I think it's like 20 minutes or something from the mainland. So if you do get seasick, Daydream's ideal.
Yeah, it was one of the reasons we chose it. Though we did take a trip out to Whitehaven Beach, which he was all right on the way out, but on the way back in, it was a little bit bumpy. So he didn't feel great on that. So if you do get seasick and that sort of thing, it is worth thinking about taking some tablets to just try and help yourself a bit with that. But so one of the options though are for getting around the Whitsundays? Obviously, we talked a little bit about, obviously you can sail around, but tours and things like that, ferries,
Yeah,
how
so
do we get around?
if you're staying in Airlie Beach, if you're just going to do day trips from Airlie Beach, then you don't really need a car. Most of the tour companies will pick you up from your hotel and drop you off. But if you want to sort of go out exploring around Airlie Beach, you're going to need a car. There's no public transport that's going to get you around. But if you've only got a couple of days, then you're probably not going to really probably leave Airlie Beach anyway. But if you do have a bit longer, I'd highly recommend hiring a car for at least one day. There are some beautiful things that you can see sort of on the outskirts of Airlie Beach. I won't go in that too much. That's probably another podcast. But as for getting around between the islands, there are ferries that, like I said before, makes it super easy. But you can't actually just go on to these islands willy-nilly. So Daydream Island won't let you on unless you're a guest. Hamilton Island, you can go on as just, a member of the public and go on for a day and walk around. As to how to get around Hamilton Island, it is a bigger island, but there are good buses on Hamilton Island. So I just stayed there for 4 nights and we just either walk. So it's pretty easy to walk around the main kind of area. So we walked most of the time, or when we couldn't be bothered, we jumped on a bus. But a lot of people do hire golf buggies because there's no cars on the island. I do think we kept talking while we were there, would we have hired a golf buggy if we came again? And the answer is still no. But if you were going in the hotter months, then you might want to consider it because it is really hot and humid. Or if you've got little kids who might whinge and whine about walking. But we didn't. We thought the buses were fine. All the other islands aren't that big and you don't need any transport. So it's just on Hamilton Island. Consider what transport you want to use. And Airlie Beach, if you're going to be there for a short time, you don't need a car. If you're going to be there a bit longer, a car for at least a day or two would be quite handy. Oh, I just want to say as well, sorry on that, Tracy. A lot of people have asked me, what about ferries that go to Whitehaven? You can't go to Whitehaven unless you're on a tour or you've got your own boat. Like we went to Whitehaven on that catamaran sailing trip that I went on, but there isn't sort of like a public ferry that runs you back and forth to Whitehaven or anything like that.
Yeah, it's quite restrictive with getting out to Whitehaven. And I have seen people fly in as well.
Oh, yeah,
which is always really cool when you're on the beach and they fly in on the seaplane and you're like, wow. So your own boat. And also, I know they're very strict on the tours when you get back on the boat, they wash you down to make sure that you're not taking any sand away with you or anything like that.
I didn't mention the planes, Tracy, but yes, you can get there on plane or helicopter if your budget allows.
Yeah, I've done the helicopter before, but out to the Agincourt Reef from far north, which was amazing.
Beautiful.
But not around the Whitsundays, which would be really cool. And we've also stopped off, actually, this is worth considering. I think there's something else that we should do a podcast on is actually doing the drive from Brisbane to Cairns, because if you actually go the coastal route, there's 2 ways to do it. We've done it. We love doing actually the outback route, but if we've done it a couple of times by the coastal route and stopping off in Airlie Beach for a couple of nights, leaving the car and going onto the islands, and then come. In fact, that's what we did when we went to Daydream Island. Okay. That's how we did it. It was part of that kind of road trip. But that's also a great way, to do it and access it and include it in your trip.
Yeah, that's right. And there is a big car park. I know the other couple that were on the catamaran sailing trip, they had a car which they had left. So it's very easy to leave your car if you do go out onto the islands or on a boat or something.
Yeah, it's really well. I think it's well organised. Very easy to kind of sort that out. If that's what we found it really easy to organise that anyway. So let's talk about the things to see and do in the Whitsundays. Now, obviously, Whitehaven Beach is the big draw. It's world famous. Everybody, I think, if you mention Whitsundays, that will be the image that people will have in their head. Yeah. So what do first-time visitors need to know if they're planning to go to Whitehaven Beach?
So everyone wants to go to Whitehaven Beach, and it's the number one thing that I always recommend to clients that come to talk to me about going to the Whitsundays, and they all want to know, how am I going to get there? What am I going to do? So, Whitehaven Beach, just for people who don't know, it's a huge stretch of beach on an island in the middle of the Whitsundays. There's no shops, there's no resorts, there's no nothing like that. It's just, complete natural and absolutely stunning. Now, what you might have seen when you see pictures of Whitehaven on the internet is the swirly white sands and in the beautiful turquoise water. So to see that, you go up a little hike called Hill Inlet. It's a fairly easy hike. It's not that strenuous. I don't know, I'm going to say maybe 15 minutes walk up and back. And there's just a number of different platforms up there that you can go out and just see this beautiful vista. I highly recommend it. It is absolutely stunning. And you're going to get some great photos up there no matter what time of day it is. Now, if you're going on a tour group, unfortunately, there's likely going to be a lot of other people up there. We went as part of that catamaran trip that I just mentioned, and we went there at like sort of 7 a.m. in the morning, and there was nobody there, and it was just magical. But as we came back, all the boats were coming in. So, that was sort of like, 8 o'clock. So it gets busy really, really early. And then so a lot of the tours that you go to, then, they'll let you have a swim in the water. The water is just beautiful and warm. As we said earlier, the sand's soft and it just doesn't get hot. Like some sands can get really hot. It's just soft and cool and it's beautiful.
And squeaky.
In that area, and squeaky, very squeaky. In the area underneath Hill Inlet, there's every time I've been, there's always lots of little stingrays, little reef sharks. So you can kind of just wander through the shallow water and see the marine life. It's just incredible. So that's what Whitehaven Beach is. So don't expect it's not a Bali. There's no shops along the beach. It's just stunning. So as to what else to do in the Whitsundays, it's one of those places that you can kind of do as much or as little as you like. So, and if you do want to do a lot of activities, it's generally going to be on the water. So, of course, there's snorkeling. Snorkeling is probably the number one activity in the Whitsundays. You can see beautiful marine life, colourful fish, turtles, little reef sharks if you're lucky, lots of stingrays, and beautiful coral, really gorgeous coral. But that's probably the number one activity. Like when I was on the sailing trip, we probably did snorkeling about 3 times a day. So if you're not really a snorkeler, that you can still go swimming, I suppose. Stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking. We took a jet ski tour, which was pretty amazing. Lots of things on boats. Like there's sunset cruises where you'll watch the sunset, you'll have a barbecue, drink some wine, all of that kind of stuff. So I think actually the Whitsundays gives you a really nice balance of a lot of relaxing time and then a couple of activities. It's not like you're on the go all the time. So it's a lot of that water activity. Hiking, if you're on Hamilton Island, lots of beautiful hikes that you can go up and see some amazing views. I don't know, what else did you do, Tracy, when you were over on Daydream?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. We walked around Daydream because Daydream isn't a huge island, but there's a nice circular walk that you can do around Daydream. So we did that and saw lots of kangaroos because they do have lots of wildlife, kangaroos on that island, no snakes, but which is good. And then we took a tour out to Whitehaven because you've got to go to Whitehaven. And I think we spent a couple of days just in the resort, just chilling out and just relaxing by the pool, enjoying the beautiful weather, watching the whales go past when we saw those. And that's what you say. You can have that combination of go out and do a tour, or you can just spend the time in the resort and relax and just enjoy the beautiful weather and the beautiful beaches. It is gorgeous. It's a lovely part of the world to do that. It really is paradise.
It is. And you just mentioned about the kangaroos on Daydream. I actually haven't been to Daydream Island, but on Hamilton Island, that was the other thing I thought it's really nice for international tourists. You've got lots of cockatoos, they're on your balcony all the time. There's no kangaroos on Hamilton Island, but lots of the little wallabies everywhere. And then you've obviously got marine life. So I think it's excellent for your international guests to come and see Australian wildlife so easily, all of that, marine life and our mammals and our birds all in the same place and so easily, and not in a zoo, just natural.
Exactly. I am going to say that it's probably we're probably wallabies on Daydream, not kangaroos. See, just to see, you can tell. I lump them all together as kangaroos.
Yes.
But in episode 83, which is coming out in a few months' time, we're going to be talking all about when to see wildlife in Queensland, and obviously we just mentioned kangaroos and wallabies. So, and I know my mum came here last year, and that was the first thing she wanted to see: a koala and a kangaroo. You have to see a kangaroo. And then after a few days, she was like, kangaroo, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is really, really funny. Now, what about any lesser known spots or experiences that you think that visitors shouldn't miss if they go to Whitsundays?
Yeah, so one of my favourite places is actually on the mainland, and this is why I was sort of saying if you can and you're going to stay on Airlie Beach and you have a car, about 40 minutes north of Airlie Beach is this area called Cape Gloucester, and there's a resort there, and it's a really relaxed sort of casual resort, and they have like a pub style restaurant there, just sitting in the sand, and really casual kind of meals. But the beach there is absolutely stunning. It's so gorgeous. So I highly recommend. I always say to people, if they've got a little bit of time, go up and have lunch at Cape Gloucester Resort. And go swimming. And if it is stinger season, make sure you bring your own stinger suit, because you're gonna want to get in that water. It's so beautiful. But yeah, they've also got a swimming pool there. So if you're not a beach person, you could go in the pool. But yeah, I recommend going around lunchtime. Nice place to get some food. And there's also a couple of other beaches that are really worth stopping into up there. Is Dingo Beach and Hideaway Bay, also beautiful. Airlie Beach. There are some little pockets that have got some okay beaches, but Airlie Beach is not that nice itself. So you don't go to Airlie Beach for the beaches, which is a bit strange. But yeah, so those beaches are nice that are outside of it. And there's also Cedar Creek Falls, or Cedar Falls, might not be Cedar Creek, Cedar Falls, which is another gorgeous place where you can go swimming as well. So they're my kind of little secrets that I think some people don't tend to go to.
Perfect. Now, I've just talked about the fact that really they are paradise, and when you get there, you do kind of go, wow. So have you had a moment where you've just stopped and thought, like, literally, you can't get better than this. This is paradise.
Yeah, I really did. When I was on that catamaran trip, unfortunately, my boyfriend was quite sick, not seasickness, just come down with man flu, I think. So I was actually alone on that catamaran a lot myself. And I just spent hours just sitting on deck, just looking at the scenery, just going, wow. I don't know how many times I said to myself, wow, this is so beautiful. Like, just gorgeous. And I'm not really a person that just sits. I like to be really, really busy. But I just sat so long on that catamaran, just staring out to the islands around me, the sunset, the sunrise. And I just felt so lucky to have that experience.
Yeah, I know you sent me photos as well, didn't you? Thank you very much. I was like, I know where I'd rather be right now. Oh, it just looked amazing on that trip. So what about a memorable day on the water? Because I think I always want to know about this, because I don't get the option very often because Doug gets seasick to spend time. But I do like being on the water. I do like boats. So tell us a little bit about, what it was like.
Yeah. When I saw this question from you, I was thinking about it, and I'm going to talk about when I went on this jet ski tour. I was a bit nervous, but I went on this jet ski tour, and the thing that they tell you on these jet skis, people who've ridden jet skis will know this, is that they say it's easier to go at full speed on the water, because I guess you just kind of glide over the water, whereas if you go slow, you're like bump, 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 bump. And that just scared the pants off me. But I was like, okay. And if you didn't go full speed, then you got left behind. So here I am, in the Whitsundays, just, I don't know how fast we were going, but it felt like I was going like 500 kilometers an hour, just cruising out, and it was absolutely thrilling and terrifying all at the same time. So what we did on this tour, we did this big tour around Hamilton Island, but not so much on Hamilton Island, but the islands around Hamilton Island. And we would stop, and you're just just on a little jet ski, not even on a boat, a little jet ski, surrounded by the most beautiful islands and clear crystal water. You just felt so small. Do you know what I mean? Like really small in this amazing place, and it felt peaceful, beautiful. Yeah, it was really amazing, and I highly recommend people to get over their fears and do something like that if they get the opportunity.
Well, I think I'm going to have to dare Doug to do that, see if I can get one. Mine said I have to dare myself because I don't know. It terrifies the life out of me. It really does. Now, I know it was a long time since you've been to Hamilton Island, so this trip. So was there anything that surprised you about the Whitsundays? Because obviously you've had a bit of a gap since you were particularly on the islands.
Yeah, it did actually. I prefer places that are perhaps a little bit more off the beaten track than where all the tourists are. And Hamilton Island, everyone knows Hamilton Island. If you're a local, most people have been to Hamilton Island. And it was school holidays when I went as well. So I have to say I wasn't actually really looking forward to it because I was like, oh, it's going to be overrun with kids and families and tourists and blah, blah, blah. But it was amazing. I loved it. I'm totally converted. Loved Hamilton Island. Yes, it is touristy, but it's not overcrowded. And considering I was there during school holidays, I think that I, can confidently say that Hamilton Island is not overcrowded. And yeah, it's just done really well. It's stunning. It's beautiful. Whilst it is a tourist hotspot, it is just beautiful. Plenty of space, plenty of restaurants to go to. And I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, I'll be adding that back into if we do a drive up to Cairns. It's definitely going to be in the itinerary again. Now, what about when people are packing, thinking about practical things? What should people pack that they might not think of? Because everybody thinks about taking the swim costume and the flip-flops and the sun cream and blah, blah, blah. But what would you say don't forget to take this one item?
Well, my boyfriend took binoculars, which I was like, I don't know why he took them, but when we were there, I thought it was really good. So we spent a lot of time on the balcony, like, we were looking for whales. We didn't see any whales. But yeah, we're just like looking out at the water. If there were whales, it would have been a great thing to see. While we're on the catamaran, having the binoculars was really good. The other thing I probably would recommend for islands is some sort of water shoe, like reef shoe or something, because you are out in the Great Barrier Reef. Apart from when you're on Whitehaven Beach, which we talked about, the beautiful soft sand, the beaches do tend to be a little bit rocky and can be quite not very pleasant to walk on. So, I would always recommend some sort of water shoe as well. Lots of other things, but you've probably already got them on your to bring list anyway.
Perfect. Now, what about any common mistakes first-time visitors might make that they could kind of avoid if they're planning to visit?
One thing I'm noticing now is a lot of people coming to me about booking trips at Christmas time and accommodation. This is not, like the Whitsundays is not a huge city area where the accommodation is unlimited. There are only so many resorts on the islands, and even Airlie Beach itself, it's not overly big. So these places do book up quickly and prices go up a lot. So I would recommend booking, if you're going to go, booking in as early as you can. The other thing I recommend is your hero experience, which is usually for people to go to Whitehaven Beach. I recommend booking that for day one, because if the weather is no good and they cancel the trip for whatever reason, at least maybe you can book it the next day or the next day or the next day. If you leave it for later in the trip, then you might miss out, unfortunately. Most places have, 24-hour cancellation, so you can easily move things around, but I would always lock it in early to avoid disappointment.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good tip. I usually do that even if we go up to Port Douglas, looking at going out onto the reef, is checking the weather and booking ahead and just keeping an eye on if you can move it back, because they do get booked up. They really do. Now,
yeah.
what about a 3-day itinerary? If somebody was going to go for 3 days, how would you suggest they spend them?
All right. Well, I came up with 2 options here. So if you've ideally, what you would do is you'd go to Hamilton Island, I think. The main reason is because you can fly straight to Hamilton Island, so no stuffing around getting anywhere. Fly straight to Hamilton Island and you're there. So in the rest of the day, maybe just snorkel straight off the beach, have some pool time. And then I recommend you join up for one of the sunset barbecue tours, sailing tours, because what a beautiful way to start your first day on Whitsundays. Day 2, you're going to do your full day trip to Whitehaven Beach, which would also include a couple of spots for snorkeling. And then I recommend, there's a lot of great spots on Hamilton Island for sunset drinks and dinner. And we tried a few of them out. And my favourite was at a restaurant called Bommy's. It was just stunning, the sunset. We'll get some photos up in the show notes for that. Absolutely beautiful. So I recommend, and I probably, if you're going to stay, that we just went for drinks. If you want to go for dinner, book in early. Day 3, in the morning, maybe go for a hike if you're that way inclined, or just, spend the last few hours around the pool or doing another snorkel before heading home. So that's my ideal itinerary. But if you're more on the budget side, then go to Airlie Beach. You can fly straight into Proserpine Airport, get the bus to Airlie, maybe just wander around town. It's not a huge town, lays by your pool. But I also recommend you doing a sunset cruise. Boats will leave from Airlie Beach and cruise around the waters there as well, so you don't miss out on that sunset cruise. Then day 2, you're going to do your Whitehaven day trip again. So another full day. It's going to be a bit longer because you're not starting from Hamilton, but still have a fantastic day. Dinner at the Garden Bar Bistro, a beautiful restaurant right there on the Coral Sea. So go there for sunset if you can, depending on what time you get back on your trip. The next morning, I recommend, there's the lagoon there at Airlie Beach. Have a swim there, walk around the waterfront. And then if you have time, go to the pub. That's what it's called, the pub, for lunch. Some great pub food there. And before getting back on the bus and going home. So there's a ideal itinerary and a cheaper one, which is still a great option if you on the budget side.
Yeah, love both of those. Absolutely fantastic. It really is an amazing place to go. So, what would be your must know tip for anyone visiting the Whitsundays for the first time?
I think I already said what I noted down here was about the weather. Making sure you book your hero spot, your hero experience, and up front. But it is really important to do that. And like Tracy said, just monitor the weather. These boats won't go out if they think it's dangerous or unsafe at all. So you don't have to worry about that yourself. But they will go out if it's cloudy or, a bit of rain. So if you can see that and you think, it's going to be nice and sunny the following day, if you've got it booked in, you can cancel it or move it. I definitely, but book it for the first day and don't go, I'll just wait and see what the weather's like, because you might just miss out because they do book out. And now most places allow you to change 24 hours ahead.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Well, I have to say, Whitsundays are a fabulous place to visit, whether you live in Australia and you're looking at somewhere to go and visit over the winter months or the summer months even, or if you're from overseas and you're planning a full itinerary visit to Australia, visit to Queensland, definitely consider adding in a visit to the Whitsundays. We know it's a highlight for many, many people. I know, Melissa, you book a lot of people onto the Whitsundays and you have a lot of inquiries. And I just thought, actually, we kind of rushed into the start because I want to talk about the Whitsundays. And obviously you are a fellow lady who travels. So if anybody hasn't listened to the episodes before, Melissa, myself and Shelley at the moment do Ladies Who Travel episodes at the end of each month. So Melissa comes on that. But she's also the author and owner of the Queensland Travel Guide and the Brisbane Travel Guide. So would you just give us a quick overview of those and where people can find you as well, Melissa?
Thank you, Tracy. Yes, I do, because I live in Brisbane, in Queensland, and I do know a lot of international guests coming, want to spend some time in Queensland. So I have the Brisbane Travel Guide website and the Queensland Travel guide website to help you make your plans. But I'm also a travel planner myself. So if you just want someone to take care of all the planning for you, I can plan it and book it and ensure you have a fabulous time in Queensland or Australia. Whatever it is, I can help you with that.
Perfect. And I will link to both your websites and your planning page in the show notes as well. And we're going to add some photos that both myself and Melissa have taken during our visits to the Whitsundays. And you can find those at globaltravelplanning.com/episode 75. But for this week's episode, as always, until next week, happy global travel planning.
Bye.
Hey, bye. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Global Travel Planning Podcast. For more details and links to everything we discussed today, check out the show notes at globaltravelplanning.com. Remember, if you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a review on your favourite podcast app, because your feedback helps us reach more travel enthusiasts just like you. Anyway, that leaves me to say, as always, happy global travel planning.